Worship drummers, have you ever wondered why the bass drum sounds so sweet on your favorite worship songs? It's probably because the drummer is avoiding 5 common mistakes worship drummers make with their bass drum pedal and their bass drum technique. The bass drum is probably one of the most important drums, and when listening to your favorite worship songs, you'll realize it's usually the loudest part of the mix for a reason. This means we need to play with power and a certain level of velocity. Stay tuned to find out if you're guilty of some of these mistakes, and of course, I'll teach you how to fix them. Before we dive in, if you're a worship drummer or an aspiring worship drummer, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, because every video I make is meant to help you become a better drummer to play with confidence on the worship team. Also, please like this video to help me reach more drummers like yourself. Okay, let's dive into the 5 most common mistakes worship drummers make with their bass drum, pedal, and bass drum technique. So the first mistake worship drummers make with their bass drum is poor head choice and tuning. I know everyone has their preference for head choices, but I use and recommend the Aquarian Superkick 2 and the Aquarian Regulator for the resonant side. I'll put the link to these heads in the description, and if you're more of an Evans fan, the equivalent would probably be the EMAD, but the main thing is to get a thick and pre-muffled bass drum head so you can make your bass drum sound like what you hear inside of worship music. With the Aquarian Superkick 2, here is a quick checklist of how to tune your bass drum, and when I follow this checklist, it ends in satisfactory results every single time. Step 1, once you have the new head on the batter side, you want to finger tighten each tension screw as much as you can. Then step 2 is push down in the middle of the head and then tighten the head until you've gotten rid of all of the wrinkles. Step 3, do the same exact thing on the resonant side. And step 4, on the resonant side only, you're going to do an extra half or quarter turn on each tension screw. You really don't need a lot of muffling inside the bass drum with these kinds of heads. For live sound, I usually keep the kick wide open, but for recording, I'll usually put an Evans EQ bass drum pad inside, link in the description, or maybe a small towel up against the batter side. I only resort to using pillows when the heads on the kit are kind of crummy, like factory heads or single ply heads. If you would like a more detailed step-by-step walkthrough of me following the tuning checklist I gave you, you can join my free group for worship drummers called Drummers Who Worship Plus. Inside the group, I have a free course entitled The Worship Drummers Tuning Bible that teaches you and walks you through how to tune every single drum on your kit, including the bass drum. Click the link in the description if you want to join. Okay, now let's move on to mistake number 2.
Okay, so the second mistake that I see worship drummers make is that they don't have their pedal settings dialed in correctly. Before we start talking about pedal settings, this might mean that you'll have to upgrade your pedal. This is going to more so apply to beginners who are just starting out. Maybe it's a cheaper electronic drum set, or maybe it's a cheaper kit that came with a pedal. These kind of pedals are made with like bare minimum features. And even if a pro drummer were to play on those pedals, they wouldn't be able to get the performance they need out of them. And they don't usually have any adjustments that you can make to them to begin with. But the thing is that the barrier to entry to getting like a decent pedal is pretty cheap. For example, I got 2 different Iron Cobra pedals here. This one would be considered like the Iron Cobra 600 series. I think it's probably around $160 now, and that's pretty pricey for some people. But this one, which is the 200 series, that has a little bit less features but still feels really nice. This one's only like 84 bucks. It's a well worth investment to get a decent pedal, and you don't have to get like the top of the line. But at a certain point, with those pedals that come with kits, or even like cheaper electronic drum kits where they have like the pedal all as one assembly, you're really going to struggle to be able to get the technique out of it that you want to get out of it. So in those cases, an upgrade is going to be a necessity to be able to get what you want out of the pedal. I think a lot of times when you pay a premium price for a pedal like this one, you're getting a lot of features that give you maybe like 5% more performance. But when you're going from an extremely cheap pedal all the way to something like this, that's a huge leap in functionality. And so I'm actually going to put some links in the description for some pedals that I would recommend. And I can put some recommendations in there for all different budgets. But if you want something somewhat decent, you're probably going to be spending around $75, $85 as of this video being recorded in 2025. Honestly, the brand doesn't matter that much. Obviously, I like Tama. I'm very much like a Tama drummer, but even if you go with Pearl, or if you go with like a PDP or something just name brand, it's going to be leagues better than like a no-name brand pedal that just came with your kit. So that's the first step. Okay, so now that you understand why having a good pedal is so important, we can now talk about the pedal settings. And the first and most important one is to ensure that the beater is not set too close to the bass drum. This is a perfect example of the beater being too close to the bass drum, and this is going to rob you of all your power and velocity to really give the kick the oomph it needs for worship music and playing in modern worship music. So instead, I would much rather prefer you shoot for more of a 45-degree angle like this, so you have more space, more room, you'll have more velocity to really get some power out of the bass drum. So higher end pedals like the 600 series, you have the ability to adjust the beater angle independent of the pedal board, but this 200 series one doesn't. So because this is all one piece, so you really have to just adjust it here, pull it back a little bit, and then you've got like a better angle, but then the pedal board is going to be up a little higher. Honestly, it really doesn't make that much of a difference for me personally. That's just a feature that you are paying a premium for. If you get a higher end pedal, you usually can adjust the beater independent of the pedal board. Okay, so the next setting that we need to worry about is your spring settings on your pedal. And I'm not going to tell you exactly how to set yours, because it's all going to be personal preference and it's going to give you a very different feel. The most important thing is that you understand what the spring does based on the extreme settings. So if you have the spring extremely tight, where the spring is extended out very long, that means it's going to be more difficult getting the beater to the head because there's going to be more resistance, but it will come back way faster to its resting position. And then conversely, if you have the spring extremely loose, it's going to be near effortless to get the beater to the head, but then it won't come back to the resting position nearly as fast. So knowing what the spring does is the most important thing, and then you can experiment from there. Personally, I like my spring tension somewhere in between. That's a good place to start, and that's usually what I recommend to my students who are starting out. But you might find that you can perform better with more extreme settings. But just keep in mind, it's not going to be the magic pill to all of a sudden make you play way better than you did before.
Okay, worship drummers, so here is where we're going to get into a little bit of technique, and I say this all the time about technique videos on YouTube. They're only going to fix the problem if you know that you're doing it right, and the only way to know if you're doing it right is if you're getting direct feedback. YouTube videos unfortunately don't provide this, and exclusive YouTube learning can be the big reason drummers pick up a lot of bad habits in the first place. So if you're interested in fixing one or maybe many bad habits you picked up over the years, and you would like a clear path to becoming the confident worship drummer you want to be, then I want to invite you to apply for one-on-one coaching. I typically help in the areas of technique, practice method, creativity, and being able to learn songs 10 times faster than conventional methods, so you can spend less time preparing and more time worshiping. Click the link in the description if you're interested in one-on-one coaching. Okay, now on to mistake number 3. Okay, worship drummers, so we're here at the kit, and the third mistake that worship drummers make is burying the beater. And this is going to be one of those mistakes that's maybe going to ruffle a lot of feathers, because this is a mistake that I run into all the time working with my students. I would say most self-taught drummers come to me burying the beater already. And I'm just going to explain my opinion on why you should not bury the beater. Number one, you're going to rob the drum of its natural resonance because you're sticking the bass drum beater right up against the head. You would never hit a tom where you would hit it and then keep the stick on it like this. And the second reason I don't think you should bury the beater is because it's going to rob you of your speed on the bass drum. Because if your beater is resting on the head then it has to come all the way back before it can do another stroke. So if taking the beater off of the head after each stroke, it's already in its starting position, ready to hit the drum again, therefore allowing you to have less time in between strokes because it doesn't have to already come all the way back. On a related note, I was walking you guys through the tuning earlier on in this video. A lot of times the tuning will affect whether or not you're getting extra grace notes on the bass drum if you're burying the beater. If you're not burying the beater and you pull the beater right off the head right away, then it doesn't matter how the drum is tuned, you're not going to get unwanted grace notes on the bass drum. You really want to avoid burying the beater for that reason as well. But if you're still working on, breaking the habit of burying the beater, I would highly recommend loosening up the batter side head so that you're not getting extra bounces from the bass drum. So I know burying the beater is a very popular and prevalent bad habit amongst a lot of drummers, and I do spend a lot of time breaking that habit when I work with my students. And what I've found is that it's not necessarily just your foot, it could be the way you're sitting. And that leads me to mistake number 4. Okay guys, so mistake number 4, this one has all to do with posture and the way you're sitting. A lot of drummers that bury the beater, the reason they bury the beater is because they're relying on their legs for balance. And I would highly recommend you adjust the way you're sitting so that more of your center of gravity is going through your body rather than leaning forward and trying to rest your weight this way, because then you won't have to rely on your feet for your balance. See, I have both of my feet off of the ground right now, and I can sit totally fine. And then especially easy if I have my hi-hat foot resting on the hi-hat, for some extra balance. I can literally have my foot just like floating in the air, and it doesn't cause me any strain because I've developed my quad muscles, where I can pick my foot up, and then it gives me that nimbleness to be able to play much more effectively. So if you're struggling with burying the beater and you're struggling with your foot pedal, I want you to sit a little bit further back in the chair, and not necessarily further away from your drums. You can bring the chair closer, but then you're going to sit further back so that more of the weight is going basically through your butt and less weight is like leaning forward and resting on the pedal for your balance. And this will probably start to take care of some of the burying the beater problem. I honestly feel like I could make an entire video on posture, but another thing is you want to make sure you're not sitting too low. Generally, if you have your knees above your legs, you already know that you're sitting way too low at the kit, and you want to use your height, because if you're sitting higher, then you're going to have better leverage on your bass drum. So I would suggest your legs should be angled down slightly. Everything below your knee should be straight down, and then you can set up everything based on that. Okay guys, so mistake number 5 is just basically lacking endurance and control, and this is just poor technique. So I'm going to show you guys my single kick technique, and hopefully it will help you kind of iron out some of the problems you're facing. And so I think there's a lot of argument between like heel up, heel down, yada yada, heel toe, all those things. But I would highly recommend being able to do whatever you need to do for the style of music you play. And in this case, since we're playing worship music, the kick is fairly strong in the mix at all times. So I feel like in order to get the power that you need for this style of music, you should be playing heel up. But there's a caveat there. So in between my strokes, when I'm not actually playing, I bring my heel down to rest it, like so. So if you notice, every time I hit the bass drum after I'm done, I bring the heel down to rest it. And I'm not putting a ton of weight in my heel. It's just resting my leg because I'm using mostly my hip flexor to hinge there instead of using just like my ankle or my calf muscles. And that way you can get the power that you need for this style of music. And so I'm going to show you guys up close here how I get strokes. So you want the ball of your foot on the bass drum pedal, kind of towards the middle. I mean, it's going to be a little bit different for everybody because everybody's got different sized feet. The ball of your foot is going to be touching the pedal down here, and then you're going to drop your heel, and that's going to send the ball of your foot forward, and that's what's going to get your stroke. Instead of you just having your heel up like this and going like this, that's expending like a lot of energy. But you want to think like the same thing, but then bring your heel down. So I'm here. I pick up my leg with my hip flexor right here. This is your hip flexor where your leg hinges from your body. And then you bring it down, and then you get your stroke that way. And that way you can get nice and solid strokes, and you're getting the same dynamic volume every single time you play the bass drum instead of it being weak on certain hits. You really want consistency in volume, especially for this style of music. And on top of that, I'm setting you up for later on, maybe another video that I'll talk about the heel toe technique, where you can get two for the price of one, where you go down and then you go back up and you get the second one. But that's for another video at another time. Let me know in the comments if you guys want me to shoot that video. Just to summarize, guys, these are the 5 top mistakes that worship drummers make with their bass drum, their pedal, and their technique. Number 1, improper tuning. Number 2, improper pedal settings. Number 3, having the habit of burying the beater. Number 4, improper posture and seat position. And number 5, lacking in endurance and control, which is basically just improper technique. So there you have it, guys. If you've been struggling with your bass drum, I hope the fixes in this video will help you. If you're looking for more bass drum help, I have an extended version of this video inside my free community for worship drummers called Drummers Who Worship Plus. The extended version of this video, I have 3 common bass drum patterns you should know as a worship drummer. Click the link in the description to join for free. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.